Hello and welcome to the ultimatehouse.com, where you can learn how to design and build yours. My name is Otis Bradley. This here is Lucy helping out. Today we're going to talk about cabinets. Okay, so cabinets part 2, just a continuation of the last one. We're talking about drawers. So you really have cabinets with cabinet doors or cabinets with cabinet drawers, and then both of them are faced with either drawer faces or drawer faces. Typically you don't see more than 4 drawers in a base cabinet. You've only got 36 inches. Sometimes the bottom ones are a little deeper than a little taller than the upper ones. You might have like a pencil drawer or a skinny drawer on top. You can have typically anything wider. 3 feet is about the max, and that's probably even wider than you would want for most drawers because they become cumbersome and they don't work as well. Here is an example of another kind of cabinet where they have pull-out drawers inside of cabinets. Some people like these. This is just kind of a good illustration of parts of a cabinet. You can see this particular cabinet has a 3/4 inch birch box. That's this part right back here, and it is looks like a Euro style cabinet, so there's no additional face frame put on top of it. The drawers are made with dovetailed construction with fully concealed slow close slides. So drawers have mechanical pieces which are attached to the sides or actually can even be put in underneath. It has 3/4 inch birch plywood. Again, that's pre-finished plywood on the inside. 3/4 inch is a nice thick size. You would probably not want 1/2 inch thick interior shelves. The door hinges, these particular hinges, and there are zillions of different products that you can use, but these are 110-degree opening concealed European style hinges. They're self-closing, and they have a 6-way adjustment, so that's kind of a high-tech type of hinge. This roll-out tray, it spells out the specs on that and also on the toe kick. There are a variety of ways to build drawers. This is a solid lumber dovetail construction. You can see that's how this is put together. Sometimes drawers are simply cut in 4 pieces and nailed or glued together without this interlocking construction of a dovetail, which is kind of a nice way to build a drawer. The bottom is probably a 1/2 inch thick plywood if it's a quality drawer. And again, this can be pre-finished, or you can finish it on the job site, either paint it or clear lacquer or whatever. And then on top of the drawer is a drawer face. So you can see here's the drawer. That's a separate piece, and then your face, much like the cabinet door, is being attached to the drawer. And we'll see how the different styles of drawer faces match or don't match the doors. Those drawer slides that I mentioned, like hinges, can come in a wide variety of possibilities. This is a very cheap, older style. There's a wheel with a pressed metal frame type of thing. Compared to a much more high-tech, this is probably a Blum slide. BLUM makes a lot of quality cabinetry hardware. And you can see this one has ball bearing slides. It also has the soft close mechanism, which means when you close that drawer, it goes almost all the way, and then it pulls itself in to shut the drawer tight. People like those. And drawer faces, this is just an illustration. There are companies that just make cabinet door and drawer faces, and a lot of quote-unquote custom cabinet makers simply make the boxes and then order the doors and drawer faces that come pre-cut, pre-finished, and they just attach them to the cases. But you can see here's a beaded panel, a flat panel, here's a raised panel, multi-panels, kind of craftsman look. These here are drawer fronts. So one thing to note is when drawer fronts are obviously smaller than doors. So sometimes if you have, for example, this type of cabinet door, you're not going to have a drawer with 2 panels because it just gets so ridiculously small. You might have a solid face drawer, more like this one, on top of a door like this one. And just another example, this is from a cabinet company. You have everything from raised panel, which means if you're looking at this from the side, you have your frame and then your panel comes out and goes up, compared to a flat panel, which might go something like that. So you can see a variety of raised panels here. Here's a flat panel. You can have different types. You can have a mitered panel, which means that the frame is mitered versus a frame that has 4 pieces more like that with inset. A variety of flat panels, beaded panels, etc., etc. Everything you can possibly imagine. And of course we have lots of different types of woods and finishes, dark stains versus light stains, and you can paint cabinets. You can also cover them with things like formica or a laminate. These are actually examples of thermofoil, which is a newer, kind of a less expensive style of cabinet where you imitate a raised panel. What happens is these are molds where wood pulp is pressed into it and there's a thin foil over the top. So these are made in one piece and they're made to look like frame and panel, but they're really not. But it shows you an example of how these types of profiles could be done. So compared to the actual frame that we've been talking about with panel, the thermofoil is just made in one piece. The lesser expensive kind of cabinets you see at your giant home stores are made like that. And then, as we mentioned, Euro style hinges typically look something like this. There's a wide variety depending on how you want the door to swing, how much adjustment you want, type of quality. There are lower quality Euro hinges and higher quality hinges. If you have a frame and a door, you might have a more traditional or old-fashioned kind of hinge like this, which is set up to go onto the frame, or you could have a butt hinge. This is the same kind of hinge you would use on an entry door, for example. And that, again, this is the typically what we use was when someone wants a more traditional look. The door is inset into the frame, and you've got your butt hinges there. It's actually more difficult to do this than it is to use the Euro hinges. Okay, so the way the boxes are made, when you design your kitchen, you lay out your cabinets the way you want. You might have a wider cabinet like this for a sink area, and the sink is going to sit up here. You might be putting a dishwasher in. This one here isn't set up for a dishwasher, but you can see how the drawers are set up. They're different sizes. This particular plan has a 4-inch, a 5-inch, a 6-inch, and a 7.5-inch drawer. There's your 24-inch depth we've been talking about. There's your height, leaving room for a countertop. You can see there's going to be plumbing that goes into the back of where your kitchen sink is, obviously. So this particular one has a nail-in cleat and then a thinner piece of plywood here that can be drilled through for the waste lines and the water lines and the electrical and so forth. Here's sort of just a basic plywood type cabinet. You can see the same kind of thing. There's the backs or the sides, and instead of having full backs on this, he's got just nail-in cleats, but you can see how he's set up for drawers. And here's just another illustration similar to the one I showed you before, but there's a lot more detail talking about, in particular, this one has a 1/2-inch back. Talks about the drawers. Sides are 5/8-inch plywood in this case, and dovetailed joined with a drawer bottom that is 1 1/5" plywood, so that's very thin. Drawers are 3/4" hardwood, classic 5-piece panel, which means you've got the four the stiles and rails and the panel in the middle. That would be your 5 pieces. This has the optional roll-out tray, adjustable upper shelf, 5/8" plywood instead of 3/4. Epoxy coated stay glide. So this is actually a little bit less expensive cabinet than that other one I showed you. It's got some cheaper stuff, but you can still see how all these parts and pieces fit together. Okay, so hardware. There is an endless amount of hardware available for cabinets, as you can imagine. But back to my sample cabinet of the Euro or frameless style and the more traditional face frame style. You can have knobs like these, and another decision to make is where you want these things placed. I typically wouldn't place it right up in the corner like that. With a knob, I would drop it probably a couple inches a little below that rail right there, because I just think that looks better. Some people like them up in the corner. But you can also have a horizontal pull, and if you have a horizontal pull on a drawer, you might have a horizontal pull on the cabinet door, or you could have a combination of the two. Or here are some that look like sticks. Here are different kind of knobs. Here's a pull where you reach your fingers in underneath. But this is something that oftentimes doesn't get decided until the very end. It can be frustrating as a builder, because you get to the end of the job and you want to put all this stuff in, and then the owner decides they really like this stuff that they have to order, and it's going to take 2 months to get it. So if you can, as usual, plan, you're much better off trying to figure this stuff out up front rather than waiting until the very end. This is an example of a kitchen we did where we didn't use any hardware. What we did is we cut into the frame, you can see, so you just reach your fingers in there. There are a bunch of examples of how this can be done. In the late 80s, there was a way where the edge of the cabinet door was cut, so you just reached your fingers around it. You've probably seen that, but one example. I'd like to just take you through some plans now, just to kind of give you an overview of how this is done. So this is an example of a floor plan, and this was the plan that was submitted when the permits were obtained to build this house. And the architect drew up these plans in accordance with the owner's wishes and so forth. And you can see there are actually several doors into this kitchen. This is a doorway through a cabinet, which I'll explain. Another doorway here, and a doorway to the exterior here. So there are 4 doorways coming in, cabinets around the edges, a range here, and a big kitchen island in the middle with a sink and 2 dishwashers. One thing you want to think about, and also something that is important to do early on in your planning, is pick out your appliances. So it's very important, particular appliances, Sub-Zero or Viking or whatever, they have different areas where the electrical needs to go, or the plumbing or the gas lines. Same thing with the refrigerator. This particular design right here with a refrigerator butted right up against a wall is not very good, because it's difficult to open the doors when you're crammed into a corner. Typically appliances are not good wedged into corners like that, but we'll see how this evolved. So you want to figure out the type of appliance you want, the size, the specifications, if it's going to be stainless, if it's going to be painted, and so forth. You can get sheets for each appliance that show the power specifications, and your builder might do this for you, or your interior designer if they're good. This is an example of what the interior designer did with the architect's plan. So while we were building the rest of the house, the interior designer took a look at those plans, and here's the floor plan here. This is a big sheet, which I just shrunk down for this, but you can see he re-looked at the design. He added these dotted lines or beams on the ceiling. He changed up a little bit the configuration of the cabinets. He also did elevations of each wall. This is this particular wall. This is the doorway out, and so on and so forth. And this is this was actually an antique cabinet that we installed that separated the dining room from the kitchen. So we put all that into there, and you can see here's an enlarged detail of actually this wall right here. That's this drawing. And this is the refrigerator. At this point, you can see there's a little spacer. We used cabinetry panels on top of the refrigerator, make it look like part of the cabinets. There's cabinets above the refrigerator. And then you can even see he's thought about the type of hardware that he wants. 3 drawers here and a space. This actually was going to be sort of a wire, or I think a wicker type design, which was changed to glass later. And then over here he had a little desk area. So you can see a lot of detail has gone into that. He's thought about the crown molding. Here's your 36 inches to the counter height. He's got cabinets, upper cabinets that aren't going to the ceiling. I think we had about 10-foot high ceilings in here. And you can get super detailed. An architect friend of mine once put together over 15 pages, full-size, 36-inch wide by 24-inch high plans just for cabinets in a project she was working on. Obviously, that's super detailed, and most jobs don't have that kind of thing. But this is an exploded view of just a single cabinet, and you can see all the little parts and pieces that are involved in this cabinet. So planning is good. But you can see here, this is that original floor plan I showed you. And then here's how the kitchen finally was built. So it's quite a bit different. The desk that I showed you is not a desk, but it's become a base cabinet. And then the upper cabinets in this particular part are open. You can see all this detail here. Crown molding on the top, detailed brackets on the side. And then this cabinet, you can see, turned into a glass cabinet, detailed brackets below, crown molding above. Here is that large center island. This is left open for trays and things like that. The end panels here are finished, 3 panels. These are dishwashers with panels over them. This is a huge metal cast bronze sink that weighed about 500 pounds. You can see the beams that he drew in. The custom, this is a plaster hood with the mechanicals fit inside. So it's interesting to see how it evolves, but that's a kitchen from original planning through revisions and to the actual completed built kitchen. So I couldn't stop there. Just a few more kitchens for ideas. This was a really fun job. A very interesting architect worked on this one. We decided we have white painted floors, high gloss, and we had one kitchen island with a white stone marble top, and then for the rest of the kitchen they used industrial type stainless steel kitchenware on these casters so you could roll it around. It was kind of a cool look for a kitchen. Here's another kitchen where a very traditional sort of Spanish style house. You can see there's lighting that's tucked in up above here, and it's very organized. You can see all these cabinets are the same size. There's an upper cabinet. It fits right in with the hood. Everything's very symmetrical and even. There is a very large kitchen island here which had a salvaged wood top compared to, this was actually a tile countertop here. And then you can see this area here is indented so people could pull stools up here and sit at this countertop. Another kitchen which I call traditional modern. A couple interesting things here. You can see there's a smaller drawer on top, but the lower drawers are big enough so that we did have that recessed panel. We have these nice clean, it's actually a Euro style cabinet, so these cabinet door and drawer fronts cover right over the cabinet, but they're fairly traditional, clean, simple flat panels, which made for a very sleek, almost I would say Swedish look. And then this kitchen is ultra modern. Actually, all of these cabinet doors and drawers were faced with a laminate, a Formica type material. You can see a lot of stainless. This is Caesar stone here, which is very clean, but it's interspersed with some stainless, and this is a giant stainless hood over it, and a lot of stainless appliances that are built into it. Another sort of traditional modern, this is actually these floors are oak floors painted black. So another example of painted floors with a beaded type design. You can see the drawer fronts. These are also inset, you can see, but the drawer fronts are flat, whereas the panels on the cabinet doors are the beaded design. The countertops here are actually walnut. They're a walnut butcher block, which we custom made, and they require a lot of maintenance. They have to constantly be oiled. The center island here was a black stone. Even the ceiling was a beaded ceiling. And here's a project. This was actually a remodel. The original house the guy who built it had used a lot of tropical hardwood, and he home built all these cabinets, kind of a little bit of an odd design, but even the cases of these cabinets were solid tropical hardwood, and it had a very weird kind of high lima bean shaped island here with the sink in it, which was, it had no overhang. You couldn't stand up to it. It was completely useless. So we ended up taking that island out. There's also a lot of stone around this range here. We took all that out, kind of medieval looking, and we replaced a center island here with some cabinets underneath and a stainless steel top. Stainless is really great material for cooking prep. I would say it's probably not as nice as a surface to come down in the morning and eat your breakfast at because it's cold. I like wood better, but depending on what your uses are, it's really a great prep surface. So something that might or might not work for you. And here's another kitchen, another sort of quote-unquote traditional modern style. You can see these are all big drawers. Same kind of thing, the flat drawer panel on the top for the skinnier drawers, and then the recessed panel, flat panel down here. Obviously exaggerated big horizontal pulls, some knobs up here, some glass. We used a lot of white glass in this house. This is actually a glass backsplash here. Then there was a little bar in here that had sort of fun. The designer used this lime green color back here. This is a material in here, kind of a recycled material. The owner was very interested in sort of the green aspects of this, and we kind of showcased this particular, I think it was called Karaji. It's kind of a interesting fiber material, but we made this circular or arched countertop, which worked in the floor plan of this because there wasn't a whole lot of space, but by doing this we made a really interesting eat-in counter in this kitchen. And also note these scissor truss beams and the interesting ceiling detail as well. So that takes you through a bunch of kitchens, a bunch of ideas on cabinets. I hope that's helpful to you. We have a variety of different ways you can join us, both for free in the apprentice program. Just sign up on the website, or for a few dollars more you can get a bunch of more in-depth information. And also for those of you who need more in-depth consultation, I'm available both hourly as well as for any type of special program you might like to set up. So please join us, and hopefully you will get the house that you want. This is Otis Bradley in theultimatehouse.com signing off. Thank you very much.